All right, what's good, y'all? Welcome to today's trade recap. Today is August 15th. Happy Friday to everyone that traded. Happy Full Pour Friday. Yeah, went 1-1 on the day. Here's my first trade. It was a long, took a loss, and then my second trade was a short, and I took a dub. We'll go over all that along with what my thought process was this morning. So, we had news at 8:30. Okay. Where is the news candle? Here's the news candle right here. Let's go. Let's do this. Okay, so here's our data news candle. So I marked out the highs and the lows, and we were kind of in this accumulation range. So what I wanted to see is some form of manipulation out of it, whether we swept out the highs or lows first, and then we can take longs going the opposite way. Because what do we know about data news candles? Well, if we take out one side, we're most likely going to reverse take out the other, right? Depending on which side we take out first, but that's almost always the case. So if we took out highs first, we're probably going to go down and take the lows, and then vice versa. If we take out the lows first, we're probably going to go up and take the highs. That's just how data news candles work. So I wasn't necessarily looking for a trade pre-market, but if the opportunity did present itself, I was going to. And then right here at 9:25, right before market opens, we get a fucking Spider-Man wick sweeping out data highs. So data highs is no longer relevant. So I was looking to take shorts down to here, but as you guys can see, there was no entry, right? Market open, instantly shit the bed. Okay. So not much we can do there. Whatever, right? What do we end up doing? Well, we end up creating this 5-minute fair value gap. So what I wanted to see is I had previous day lows marked out right here. Oh my god, I gotta go back in. I had previous day's lows marked out on this black line, and that was my draw on liquidity for today. So what I wanted to see was after this 5-minute opened up, maybe a retracement into it, and then we can continue lower. Or if we go straight towards the previous day low first, we can look for the gap model I just talked about in my beginner's blueprint to success. That it's actually dropping today, the gap model. But I can look for the gap model up and look for essentially a retracement and take that retracement leg. So as we continue farther down, what do we get? It's another Spider-Man wick. And then we get an absolute fucking Drake to the downside. So what do we create? Well, we created a 15-minute bearish fair value gap right here. So now I was in the hunt to say, okay, maybe I can take longs towards this, but the only reason why I didn't like longs was because we had news at 10, right? So we had news right here. So what do we end up doing till news? Well, we kind of chop around, right? We create a low right here. And if we had an SMT with an inversion right here, I might have took this, but like I said, we had news. So I'm not trading before news. What do we end up doing? News is almost out. News comes out and we don't really do much, but we have a bearish candle. And what does the bearish candle do? Well, it creates equal lows, and we also have data lows, right? So we have data equal lows, which is going to be a high draw on liquidity. So what is above us now? Well, this bearish fair value gap, right? Or if we come to the 5-minute, there's this 5-minute fair value gap as well. So what I was looking for was some sort of tap into here, or even this one up here, and then we can target these lows down here. Well, what do we end up getting on the 15-minute? We get some form of rejection, but not much. This is what the fucking chart looked like. And what was above us still? Well, this unfilled 5-minute I talked about earlier. Okay, so I'm kind of playing both sides of the ball right now. I don't necessarily have a clear draw on liquidity, right? We have draws lower, which is these equal lows. And then we have draws higher, which is this unfilled 5-minute gap. Okay, and we're also inside of a 15-minute bearish gap, along with being inside of a 5-minute bullish gap. And then what else do we have? Well, we have 5-minute BPR right here as well. From this candle to this candle, right? So we have BPR as well. So if I did want to take longs, I wanted to see this BPR get tapped and then see an inverse out of it. So that's what I was waiting for. I wasn't caring about this 5-minute fair value gap. I wanted to see this 5-minute BPR get tapped. And again, I have a BPR video if you guys don't know what the hell it is. What do we end up doing? Well, we end up coming down. Not much though, right? Everything is still generating LRL. But we end up sweeping out this low and creating a SMT on ES, okay? And then I went ahead and entered off this 1 minute inversion right here. But what I should have waited for was this 3 minute that opened up. Fuck. Excuse me. So I should have waited for this 3 minute. However, I kind of rushed the process and I entered off the 1 minute. And I was going to, if I entered off the 1 minute and we got a better close, I was going to use this 3 minute as a break even point, because then my trade would have looked something like this. Right. And then we have, oh my God. We have our stops right here. So it would have been not the best break even point, but again, I wasn't severely confident on this. I still went ahead and entered anyway. Really my own fault for this trade. I don't even think I was in profit for a single second. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this played out. Yeah, I wasn't really in profit for a single second. We ended up respecting that 3 minute fair value gap, and then I ended up getting stopped out. So that trade was my own fault, right? No one to be mad at but myself. What do we end up doing? Well, we end up inversing this 5 minute gap right here, right? So this 5 minute gap and this BPR is now inverted. What do we end up getting? Well, we get a 5 minute bearish gap. So now I'm like, okay, maybe we are bearish. If we do get a tap into this bearish gap, then I can be looking for these equal data lows right here. So see how I'm playing both sides of the ball? Well, we don't really get much, right? We have this 5 minute gap that opens up. What else happens? Well, we essentially just go fucking sideways. Now what opened up? I believe a 15 minute opened up. Yeah, so now we have a 15 minute right here, which is this green line. And we also have a 15 minute right here along with this 5 minute, which is this pink line or pink rectangle, okay? So we have two 15 minute fair value gaps and an unfilled, again, all of these are unfilled, and an unfilled 5 minute above us. So if I want to short, again, same narrative as earlier on in the day. If we go and take out these equal lows first, then I can look for the gap model up into these unfilled gaps. Or if we come up and fill these gaps, then I can look for a continuation model down. Well, what do we get? Just chop essentially. And then boom, we ended up tapping not only this 5 minute and the first 15 minute, but we ended up going into the discounted 15 minute. So now we got a discounted 15 minute tap along with a 5 minute tap. And then what do we get after that? Well, we have a 3 minute inversion along with a 5 minute inversion down here as well. So now I'm really confident. However, I didn't like this entry point. So what did I do? I set a limit order at the 3 minute inversion, which is going to be right here. What ends up happening? I thought price was going to run without me, but it ended up filling my order right here. And then again, pretty bad price action. And then finally, we ended up shitting the bed around 11:35-ish. And we took out the equal data lows. This was my break-even point, right? This internal low, I believe it was a 5 minute internal low. Yeah, 5 minute internal low, maybe even a 15 minute. Yeah, 15 minute internal low. That was my break-even point just because I was tired of looking at this chop, and I've spent the entire morning essentially looking at chop. So I was waiting for it just to tap that, and if I got stopped out at break-even, whatever. But I was significantly convicted that we were going to go towards these equal lows. So those were the only two trades I took today. Those were the only ones that really caught my eye. We had London highs up here as well, along with a previous day high SMT. So we were pretty bearish on the day, to say the least. Here's what the daily looked like. Right, as you guys can see, NASDAQ did not take out previous day highs, and then ES definitely did. So yeah, we were pretty bearish overall, and then we also had this daily fair value gap below us, but you know, ended up catching a short. I took one long, one short. The short ended up playing out. I did like the short. I was more confident in the short. And then, like I said, the reason I did lose this mech model right here towards this unfilled gap was because I rushed it and didn't wait for the 3 minute inversion. And then this internal high on the 1 minute was going to be my break even for that. So that's what that yellow line is. So yeah, those are the two trades I took today. I'm up around, here, let's do the math. I'm up around like $360 across 18 accounts. $600 or $6,480 today. So pretty good day, pretty good start to my weekend, right? So I'm about to go cook some steaks. I will catch y'all boys. Well, beginner's blueprint, the gap model will be dropping at 3, and then I'll catch y'all Sunday for the charting session. All right, catch y'all boys later.